It's still, why don't we just admit, just be honest, America? Just be honest. 77 million people that we know, friends and family, voted for an adjudicated rapist, a convicted felon, a child molester who is defending child molesters, who was best friends with the child molester, who's mentioned over 30,000 times with the child molester, who caused an insurrection that led to the death of 5 officers, who made fun of soldiers, who mocked disabled people, who added $8 trillion to the debt with 6 bankruptcies, 3 failed marriages, didn't rent to black people, paid $15,000 asking for the execution of 5 black men in New York City who were later exonerated. Literally questioned the birth of Barack Obama, our black president. And you people went to the voting booth and said, I don't know. This is tough. Do I vote for him because, he told me that I'm going to have more money in my checking account on my paycheck? Or do I vote for the most qualified black woman in the history of our country? In fact, the most qualified presidential candidate. I don't know. Universal health care, taxing the rich, helping people with student loans, helping them start their small businesses. I don't know. This is really hard. Shit, I don't know. What would Jesus do? Well, I guess I'm going to have to vote for the rapist. Can we just cut the shit? Part of this country was triggered by a black man in the White House instead of out in their fields picking their cotton. They want the inside of the White House to look like the outside of the White House. And they went back to the plantation owner. And LBJ was right. And I'll paraphrase. This country will vote for a rapist, child molester, convicted felon who is literally tearing down democracy itself over the most qualified black woman. This country would rather suffer under a white man than thrive under a black woman. When are we just going to admit it? 250 years into this experiment, this racist country, half of our country are women. Half. And we've never had a woman president because it wants to maintain the white male patriarchy. And that racist, Charlie Kirk, that's what he stood for, was the white male patriarchy. Yeah, the guy that asked for Joe Biden to be executed, who joked about gay people being thrown out of buildings in Gaza. That piece of shit racist. Very fine people on both sides. The great white replacement theory. Hey, if the pilot's black, do I know they're qualified? I'm not saying they're not. I'm just posing the question. Dead Americans is worth, I think, the cost of the Second Amendment. Praise Jesus. Wow. What a reflection of Jesus. He stood for one thing, the white male patriarchy. Look at his audience. Who was it? A bunch of beta cuck alpha males, mediocre white men with micro penises that need to feel like a real man because they see women in places of power and black women and black men and people that aren't white, and it scares the shit out of them. And they go, I don't know what to do. Traditional family values is going away. Oh, now I have to work for a living. My white privileges are going to give me the job just because I'm white. That's all he stood for. That's it. This isn't complicated, people. This is not about Republican or Democrat. Part of this country wants to live in 1776 where the white man ruled over everybody. This great Christian nation whipped black people and then paid places like Charleston City to put salt on their wounds, to shackle them, and to punish them when they didn't listen. This great Christian nation put black people in trees and came outside, and the white people smile and goes, our God is an awesome God, while somebody's fucking mom is hanging from a tree. Great Christian nation. Praise Jesus. We didn't even consider black people a whole white man through the 3/5 clause. Hell, even 100 years after we were here in 1860, the Supreme Court ruled that black people weren't citizens. But hey, Paul, if you don't like America, you can leave it. No, that's not how this works. It's the white person's turn to stand on business and call this shit out. And for all you white people out there that are still, I don't want to get political. Bitch, please. This shit is political. That's privilege, and you're oozing it right now. Black people don't have the luxury of sitting down and just sitting in their house and ignoring it. This is our fault, whether I like it or not. I benefited from it. I don't have to give the talk to my kids. I don't get called the N-word. People don't cross the street at night when I walk down there. I don't get pulled over by cops. My house isn't redlined. My great-grandparents weren't in a tree or put in somebody's will as property to hand down to their kids. That's fucking privilege. And too many of you dumbasses just want to wave flags and buy into the bullshit lie of American exceptionalism. Breaking news, America has never been a great country for everybody. Oh, Paul. And if you don't like it, you can ship your ass back to England. Just ship your ass back there because you're undocumented. This isn't my land. This belongs to the Native Americans. But very on brand for white people, like we're like a bunch of locusts and cancer. We're like, I want that. Oh, I'm going to steal the black people. I'm going to take the land from Mexico. Hey, I'm going to take the land from King Kamehameha from Hawaii. Oh, you know what? Let's just murder the Native Americans and then we'll just indoctrinate them to white culture. And if black people don't listen, we'll put them in trees and make an example out of them. Ooh, the Asians? Let's throw them in internment camps for 3 years. We'll show them because we're a Christian nation. White people don't want to hear actual American history. They want to hear white history. And that is exemplified by the all-white halftime show that they're having. Why? Because Bad Bunny doesn't speak their form of English. He's speaking Spanish. Who gives a fuck if he's speaking German or Cantonese or Mandarin? Who gives a fuck what he does? They're triggered because their version of white America is going away. Looks like me, talks like me. That's it. That's what they want. White America. And if this country fails, it's going to be through the complicity of white people sitting in their privilege, because that's why we're here, America. Because white people have stood silently since 1619. Doesn't affect me. Doesn't affect me. Lynchings, Jim Crow, slavery, Black Wall Street, segregation. Doesn't affect me. Civil rights movement. Doesn't affect me. Martin Luther King said, "We will not remember the words of our enemies, rather the silence of our friends." Many of you were silent. People like me have to stand up and lead because it's our problem to fix. I benefit from this society. I have to tear down the patriarchy. My favorite quote that the great Martin Luther King said, "A true leader is not a searcher of consensus, they're a molder of consensus." It means you have to tell people what they want to, what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. I'm not here to call to white people. I'm here to call your asses out. That your silence is complicity. Evil succeeds when good people do nothing. And right now, too many of you white people are doing nothing because you're stuck in your privilege. Get off your asses and do what's right. Have a white day.
It is very relieving to see white folks being pissed at what is going on and also looking for ways to organize themselves. And I want to say that it is great seeing you guys on social media, but I wish you will take this to the streets. Like, come out en masse and fight this whole white supremacy thingy, and I'm happy to see you guys everywhere defending the rights of everybody in America, but please, this shouldn't end on social media. Does even know what I mean? Yeah. Let's roll out more videos and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
White men are the mental health problem in this country. Jim Crow, white men. Slavery, white men. Segregation, white men. Concentration camps for Asian Americans in the late 30s and early 40s. 1,800 people died. How many black people were hung from trees? 8,000. Let me guess. Oh yeah, once again, white men. The gun violence? 98% are men. 84% are white men, U.S. citizens. I see a trend. How about the Middle Passage where 1.2 African Americans died? Oh yeah, once again, white men. Why was the Second Amendment written? Let me think. Oh, so black people couldn't have their freedoms. So the white men could once again control them. Who's in the White House? An adjudicated rapist, convicted felon white man. Wow, I see a trend. But somehow Americans are just begging to blame a trans person, a non-white person. See, what happened to George Floyd is symbolic of what's happening in this country. The white man putting his knee on the neck of a non-white person and sitting there in broad daylight with the balls to say, who's going to stop me? And that's what we're seeing right now. So that's the question that we need to ask ourselves as a fucking country. Who's going to stop them? Because I'm just one person here. Now, I don't know about you, but I got friends and family that are sitting behind the white privilege, and I want nothing to do with them. Not because of who they are, because their lack of action. Martin Luther King said, history is going to remember not the people that did bad things, but the good people that stood by and did nothing. Because once again, the white man is hiding behind their privilege while everybody else is getting treated like absolute fucking garbage. Because it doesn't affect me. You don't even want to go on a general strike to stop fascism. Oh, I can't work. Oh, I got a job. White man is the mental health crisis in the United States of America. It has been since day one. When you look at the majority of them, what do you see? A bunch of insecure little wannabe alpha males with small penises that need big trucks and guns to feel like a real man. That's the real problem, is toxic masculinity. That the white man feels unable to shit on everyone's rights just because of how they look. It's ironic, isn't it, that they demonize black people because they're black on the outside, and yet their hearts are black on the inside. Isn't that ironic? And every single time we see a mass shooting, they're just salivating on the white supremacist red hatters to say, oh my gosh, it was an immigrant, it was a trans person, it was a gay people. 84% of gun violence is white men. But when it happens, like at the church the other day, what happens? Oh, thoughts and prayers. But what happened with the racist podcaster? Oh, they were just dying for it to be somebody on the left so they can just blame somebody else. And a white man. The Catholic, the church yesterday. A white man. 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 Ahmaud Arbery. Guess what? 3 white men that chased out a black guy. Breonna Taylor. Oh, a white cop. Again and again and again and again and again. It's the same demographic. White men are the problem in this fucking country. And until we address the real mental health epidemic, which is white supremacy built on white men controlling people, because that's how this country was designed, for 21-year-old land-owning white men to shit on everybody else. This country was designed to benefit my demographic, and that is not okay. That is the original sin of this country. And until we address it, we will never be a great country, and we haven't been a great country. And if you don't like that, then you can ship.
I truly believe the reason why all of these things are happening right now is because a very large portion of white men are afraid of each other. The reason why there are so many deportations is that white men are afraid of each other. And group theory proves this. See, I was reading a book, right? It is called Shaping the Future of Feminist Psychology. Now, before you let me know that you hate women in the comments, breathe in, breathe out, touch your cock. It's still there, okay? Let's establish, I'll validate you for 5 seconds. You're a really, really cool man, bro. Okay, if that makes you feel good and you're in the comment section, put one up. Put up a 1, dog. I'm fucking telling you. Now, group theory basically tells us that men will elect a leader based off of being in a space where a lot of them are congregating together and they're given topics, and one of them happens to speak on that topic more than the other. Most of the men will involuntarily opt out intellectually from whatever it is that the group is being asked to expound upon. And whoever is speaking on it the most, the rest of those men will assume that that person is the group leader just based off of how much he knows about that specific situation. Okay? Now look at this on a very large scale. If you have somebody who's a president, somebody who is a podcaster, somebody who belongs to True Social, whatever the case may be, that's speaking on a subject very, very passionately over and over and over and over again, without somebody actually fact-checking anything that they're saying, it's very, very easy for a lot of men to click onto that if everybody is giving that man attention, okay? So if you have a lot of ICE agents who aren't necessarily committing violence, but are just aligned and associated with a group that is oriented around violence, they're not necessarily going to be the most violent people. As you see, some of those ICE agents are just kind of like the guy who clapped, for instance. He was validating himself, right? I don't think that that man was actually, I think that he's absolutely a horrific person and is demonic in the head. But I don't think that that man was actually excited or happy that someone, died. I think he felt validated because, as crazy as the actions from ICE are, as long as enough people who follow a group leader feel with an association of each other, validated to some degree, it helps dismiss all of the thoughts in their head that say, this is bad, this is not a good thing, whatever is happening is not okay, right? And what patriarchy and white supremacy teaches white men is to follow the leader, stay aligned with things that are potentially aligned with Christian core values, and to trust their leaders, to trust leadership. They trust veterans, and they trust veterans who are valiant. They trust soldiers. They trust leaders of the battalion, leaders of the battalion. They trust commanders. They trust the men who present the most masculine. It's like white men are selecting the leaders. They're selecting leaders in their own community. And if those leaders tell them that they need to bow down, if that white man has more power or has more status, they're going to simply listen because of group theory. The white men who are traditionally not following along those lines, 9 times out of 10 tend to be a part of their own individual community, or are really, really educated, just have serious access to education. They have media literacy. They can basically classify whether a headline or something that they're reading is misinformation and know not to support it. Or they have a shit ton of money, right? And there are people with a shit ton of money who believe that what's going on is bad, that are white men, and people with a shit ton of money who are a part of group theory and who are supporting the current administration because validation from that administration or fear are the two things that are keeping that person attached to that specific side, right? So basically, you have to threaten, and not necessarily threaten, but you would have to threaten the comfortability of what causes white men to feel safe in their decision making when it comes to the side that they're selecting. You have to eliminate group theory. You have to eliminate being together as a collective. All of these white men have to be individually by themselves and prompted with the simple question: if you could not pick a side, where would you stand? What would it look like for you to make a decision on what right and wrong looks like, regardless of receiving validation from other people, regardless of being talked to about what's right, what's wrong? If you were individually placed in one room and you were shown on a gigantic screen thousands of videos of all the horrible things that are happening in the world from day one to day 3,000, what would you have to do? All morals, all values, all pipelines, everything is dropped. And you are in a room with your thoughts completely by yourself, with no one else to persuade or coerce you into any decision making. It's all entirely on you. Doing this, and what it does is it teaches people to truly be individuals who are forced or placed in the positions to think for themselves. Most white men, regardless of education, 9 times out of 10 don't necessarily have to think for themselves. Privilege and accessibility affords them the ability to fall into group theory very easily. It's like, yeah, a majority of the people who I'm around live the same life as me. There's not much critical thinking that has to happen. And that's not an attack. That's just the reality of how they've been socially raised, where you don't have to think about so many things that could be possibly affecting you because the collective of the group is good. So if this is what our leaders are talking about, we're afforded privileges that most people don't have. It's okay if he wants to unalive or kill 80,000 people and deport them back to a different country because they don't live here. I mean, yeah, I see how crazy it is, but it's not affecting me. And individually, a majority of the people live the same life as me. So there's not much that I would be willing to do or change until I am threatened. White men are terrified of other men. Simple as that. That's the answer.
Let's talk about my white privilege for a minute. I have never once in my life been persecuted, never discriminated against, never looked down on for the way I think or talk or behave. I am an upper middle class white dude in red America. I can walk the streets of my town at ease because I look just like every dude who thinks Trump is Jesus. So when I look into the next 4 years, it's not me or my family that I worry about. We'll be able to afford an economy going downhill. I've got a college education and a 6-figure income. I'm going to be just fine. My wife is white. My kids are white. They're going to be fine too. But if your thought process stops there as a white dude in America, you've got a problem. Especially if you're a white Christian dude in America. See, I don't vote for Democratic policies for myself. I am actually less likely to benefit from all the things that I think are important for everyday Americans to have. So when I say things like, I think kids should not have to worry about lunch while they're at school, or that healthcare should be free for every American, I don't vote for those things because I can't afford them or because I don't have access. I vote for them because other people can't. And if you don't see Jesus in that mindset, I don't know what to tell you. It was Jesus who radicalized me. And it is because of his words that I am able to look beyond myself and empathize with other Americans that do not share my privilege. So here's the simple message. If you look like me and you don't care about the people that don't look like me, you're the problem.
It is really soothing, to see them come to the realization that they are the problem. Now, you have owned up that you are the problem, which I sincerely commend and appreciate you guys for. But after that realization, what next? What next? If you ask me, I feel, or I know, I believe that it is time to work. After you've come to that realization, it is now time to work. After you've come to the realization of certain truths, it is time to come out and put in the work. This is beyond social media. You have to step up your game, organize your people, get your people running, because if you don't, it will just be mere talk and no action. Because this time around, the whites have to be at the forefront. Yeah? You need to be at the forefront to lead. The blacks need to see you leading, taking charge, coming out. When we have seen your efforts, we can decide to join you. You need to prove to the blacks that you've got this, and they can now decide to join you. But you must be at the forefront to fight. But for now, the blacks are going nowhere. I want to shout out to the black community. Guys, keep resting. Let's watch and see what the whites will do. But for now, the blacks are resting. Shout out to the black community. Keep resting. Keep resting. I want to give credit to all the original contents I have used on my channel today. I do not take credit for any of them, and I have linked their handles down below. Please do well to support them and follow them and just support them. Thank you so much, guys. Have yourselves an amazing day. Cheers.